Hey everyone, Whitney here, and I'm here at my favorite bookshelf to show you some of my favorite books. I have, I think, 3 bookshelves in my house, and this is my favorite one. It's in the room where I sleep, so I can look at all my favorite books, I guess. I don't know. But I was hoping during this video that I could pick something to start reading in my next video. So let's get started. Also in honor, I'm wearing this Cthulhu shirt, which is one of my favorite creepy stories from one of my favorite creepy authors, H.P. Lovecraft. He is so let's see. This is the first book I want to talk about. By the way, I love sci-fi, I love fantasy, oh my gosh, and I love like history, so that's going to be pretty much all my books. I don't read a lot of biographies, like self-help books, or like philosophical books, I guess you could say, or like classic literature. I'm not big in that, unless you're talking about Lewis Carroll and J.M. Barrie and Tolkien, because I'm obsessed with him. And like so many of the things that he's done, I just thought he was a great writer. And of course, I am obsessed with Lord of the Rings still. My God, it's been a long time. So the first book I'm gonna talk about is Ready Player One. I'm sure a lot of people have read this, and I know a lot of people probably saw the movie. I did not, because I got information from people who liked the book, who said the movie like wasn't so good. And I mean, sometimes I'll just watch them anyway, like I might someday, but I just didn't like actively go out and see it. But I really enjoyed the book. I think I've only read like 3 other books since I read this one, and I read this one a couple years ago. So it's mostly because I went back to get another degree, and so I've just been reading textbooks, which is cool, but you know, I'd rather read like fantasy and sci-fi. And if you don't know anything about this book, it's about like a virtual reality world, and there's a kid who likes a girl in it, but also it's like if you win, there's like a series of puzzles, and if you win, then you get to like take over this like platform, this company. It's been a while since I've read it, but I thought it was really good. I was very entertained, and I really enjoy kind of like futuristic books like this. So that was a fun one. So the next one that I'll talk about is this Lore of the Unicorn book. I'm really trying to pick a good like representation of the books that I like, because there's a large variety of like subjects and contexts and different kinds of books that I love to read. Here's the cover looks like. So I have a lot of like unicorn figurines and t-shirts, and like I have like a little unicorn rug in my room where we don't, like, me and my boyfriend have our room together, and then we each have our own room. So mine's like legends, tales of ancient cultures, and things like that. I love that stuff. That is my jam, but just like one of them. I have a few jams. Obsessed. I get obsessed with things. So this next book is one that I was thinking about reading. As you can see, I've read it many times. I love this book. Oh my God. I also really love the movie, which is obviously, I saw the movie first and then I read the book, and I love both, but this one is way creepier than the movie. I know, it's hard to believe. So like the artwork is really cool. I think that's so weird. There's one of the other mother. Oh God, it's so creepy. I just love it. I am such a freak. I love creepy stuff. I love like eerie, scary movies and stuff like that. Like The Babadook, I thought was so good. And The Witch, freaking love that movie. Here's another one. I think that's so cool. I just love it. So this is one I'll put in the pile for books that I would like to read, because it's pretty short too. It's not a long read. It's just so creepy. It's written by a British person, obviously. Neil Gaiman wrote this, and some of the stuff in there, like, I don't know what the words mean. Sometimes I don't know how to pronounce them. And me doing a British accent, something I love to do, I don't want to like offend anyone. And I also sound like a lunatic, so we'll just wait on that one with the accent. There's so many books in here that I want to talk about. I have to like not make this video 45 minutes, so I love this book. I think it's the last book I read. It's about the Higgs particle. In 2012, they did like the proton particle collider. I can't remember what it's called. They talk about it in this book. Because that experiment is where they discovered that the Higgs particle was a real thing. Again, I'm no genius, and I understood what they were talking about for the most part in here. And I really enjoyed reading it. It was a lot of fun. I'll probably read it again sometime. Oh my God, I love this book. This was another one that I was thinking about reading. It's called The Alchemist, by Paulo Coelho. I'm not gonna pronounce that right. Coelho. I'm sorry. I actually got this from my brother-in-law as a gift. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just about like this man's journey, and like discovering enlightenment, but it's really entertaining and it's just so good. Oh my god, love it. It's like magical in like a realistic way. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's another one that I might try to read. Oh my god, we're still on the first shelf. So this is Origin of a Species by Charles Darwin. I've read this once because I've been an archaeologist for the past, I've been doing archaeology for over 10 years, but I've actually officially been an archaeologist. I think it was like 7 years ago. It was a long time ago. This one's like kind of old. I love it. And if you don't know what Origin of a Species is, it's about evolution. And I'm sorry if someone's offended by that, but I do believe in evolution. Again, I'm very sorry. That's just what I believe. So the next book is Game of Thrones. There's going to be some books that are very popular in here because I like those too. So this is just the first one. It's been well read. It's been a while since I've read them. And I think I've only seen through like all the way through season 3 of the show, but I know it like kind of changes course a little bit. So I think the books are really good. My leg's falling asleep. So this next one, oh my god, this book is really hard to read. This is La Morte d'Arthur. It was written by Thomas Mallory, and I believe he was in jail or prison when he wrote, but he wrote down the whole legend of King Arthur. So it's in like Old English, and it's very hard to read. I would read this, but it would just be like such a struggle to get through. Do this one. This is Ender's Game. You can see I've read it quite severely. This book, you know, there are certain like books and shows and movies, whatever, that like changes your brain somehow, like the way you think. At least that's happened to me a few times. And this was one of those for me. I didn't think the movie was terrible. They didn't make it as like violent and maybe like intense as the book, but they didn't change the ending, which I was really happy about. One of those other things that has kind of changed my view recently is Queen's Gambit. I almost lost my mind when I watched that. I don't know why, but I used to love chess, so it was like re-experiencing my love of chess, I guess. And I love the soundtrack. Like, just destroys me. Moving along here. This is one of my absolute favorite series. It's called Peter and the Starcatchers. Written by Dave Barry and Ridley Pearson. Who there's like, that's them on the back. Being, I guess, like pirates. The first 3 are so good. I think my dog chewed this. Got some just like really cool art in it. The pages are like old. They're like parchment kind of looking. And this book, I think, was written for kids, but there's some like farked up shit that happens in this thing. Oh my god. Intense. So it's like the prequel for Peter Pan. I would very much recommend these books. They're very good. And one of those things that I'm like obsessed with is the story of Peter Pan. Just classic Peter Pan. And this is like the original writing, so it's like the play, right? I just like love this story. I think for a while I was kind of obsessed with the idea of like not ever getting older. And I always, when I was younger, I used to cry and get upset that Wendy wanted to come back, and I thought she was stupid. I was a weird little kid. So. Moving on to the second shelf, this is all Lord of the Rings. So they're all like sets that I've collected. There's some like older copies here. It's The Hobbit. I think The Hobbit might be my favorite, and that's pretty common for people's favorite to be The Hobbit. I also have like the Book of Lost Tales 1 and 2. Couple copies of the Silmarillion, which I've gotten through before, but I had to put this big like chart on my wall and then write down the lineage because there were so many like names and like lineages from people that are in the story in like the Lord of the Rings. I did love the movies. I was not so keen on The Hobbit because it wasn't like the book. They like added all this stuff in, and it was 3 movies. If you like it, that's totally okay, right? But I didn't. I only saw it the one time in theaters. I did see it all 3 once in the theater. So then I have other Tolkien books, but I was thinking I might go over these in a different video because there are so many. One other book that I used to read is like a tween, because it's totally like a tween book, is The China Garden. As you can see, it's been worn down, and it's like a romance novel. It's tasteful, so it doesn't like go into deets, if you know what I'm saying. I must have read this book 20 times, and I haven't read it in a while, and I'm gonna put it in the pile of stuff to read. So let's see, there's more Tolkien books down here that didn't fit. This is Harry Potter, so another really popular one about witchcraft and wizardry and British people, and a lot of like fun, cool stuff. You guys have read this or seen the movies, I'm sure. So that's a really good one. I love this one. All of them. I think The Goblet of Fire was my favorite because I just had a lot of fun reading it when it came out for some reason. So this book is by James Patterson. It's called The Murder of King Tut. This book I thought was really good. It was about King Tut when he was a kid before he died, and so they used history, the walls of pyramids and stuff like that, to kind of piece together what his life would have been like. And maybe how he died, how they thought he died. Because his tomb was discovered by Howard Carter, but Howard Carter wasn't looking for Tut's tomb. He was like in another area and accidentally broke through a wall and found all this stuff. So King Tut died suddenly when he was like 14, and so that they hadn't made like a tomb for him. So all of his paintings on the walls and stuff were kind of like covering up a space that was meant for someone else. But like a classic, like ancient mystery that's been brought down through the ages. So let's see. This book is Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. This is probably Through the Looking Glass. Yes, it is. It's both. I love this book, but it's really strange. Like, it's really hard to grasp what's going on because there's all these like metaphors, and like there's a part, I think it's in the first one. I can't remember if it's Alice in Wonderland or Through the Looking Glass. But she's like on a chessboard and she's like moving across the pieces through different like dimensions. I don't know. That part was a little hard for me to understand. It's a very strange book, but I enjoy it. This book is other Lewis Carroll stories. It's a pretty book. It's got like golden pages. Whoa. Just the tips are golden. I just think this book is neat, and I haven't actually had a chance to read any of his other stories. I got this relatively in the last couple years. this book is Grimm's Fairy Tales. I bet some of you have this book or have seen this book. It's got really creepy stories in it, so I love it. Some cool like illustrations, a lot of like short stories. So I think I might put this book in the reading pile because I could pick stories in this book to read from that won't be too long. So this book is really awesome. I love this book. Grimm's original tales can be like off-putting, eerie. My favorite thing. I don't know why. I just love creepy, like eerie stuff. So this is the last book that I'll pick from this shelf. This is A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking. I have 2 copies of this book, I think. I don't remember why. But it has an introduction by Carl Sagan, which, like, freaking awesome, right? And I've read this book, I think, twice, all the way through. And you know I didn't understand everything in here. But it's just like I'm not like a theoretical physicist or an astrophysicist or anything like that. So I do freaking love space, though. Kind of scares me too. So there's only a few more. Let's see. This is the Human Bone Manual. This is like what archaeologists take into the field with them, because it's got all these like helpful tips, all these pictures about bones. I mean, when you're digging up like bodies and stuff, bones can be worn down, they're old, they kind of look different, so it gives you a reference as to like exactly what you're looking at. Yeah, so I got this book when I was still in college for archaeology. And anytime I went anywhere, I always brought this book with me. If there was going to be some kind of excavation or something like that. Because it just gives you a little reminder of what all the bones in the human body are. There's a lot. And you kind of have to know them all, so yeah, this was a great reference for me. Another book on the same subject of like anthropology, archaeology, is my Human Osteology book. I love this book. It's huge. There's a lot of pages in it. Oh my god, I think I read the whole thing. But there's also a lot of like pictures. Thanks, Human Osteology class. Really did a number. Another book that I love is the Egyptian Book of the Dead. So this has all they're called the Papyrus of Ani. and it's these scrolls that were rolled up in a chest, and they've been translated and like copied into this book, and they're just amazing. Oh my god. Ancient Egypt is like the reason that I wanted to be an archaeologist. I've been just fascinated with Egypt since I was a smaller girl. Since I like knew kind of what it actually was, you know, so I was old enough to kind of know it was like a different culture, and it was a very like magical, mysterious culture. I'm trying to find my favorite one. There it is. This one's called The Weighing of the Heart. This is my favorite papyrus. You can see Anubis here. This is Amem or Amit, and he devours your soul if you don't pass the weighing of the heart test. This is Thoth. He records the results. I think this is Mott, but this is my favorite one. And I got to see it in person at a museum in Canada when I was, I think, like 15. And I was so overwhelmed. It was so cool. I think I like shed a tear. One of my life goals is to go to Egypt. So I don't even know what to say. I would just, my whole top would blow. I'd be so excited. Okay, just a couple more here. I think there's 3. So this is the Book of Kells. I'm sure some of you know what that is. But it's like pages of a book that was made right before Christianity swept over Ireland. I think this is like my favorite page. It's just incredible. You can see that. They're like still trying to figure out how they made the book, because all these little details in here are so intricate that really it's like, unless you had a machine, it would just almost be impossible. So I think they're still trying to figure out how in ancient times, like older times, they made all of these little intricate details here. I thought I'd show you this. Calvin and Hobbes. I have like all of these, and I still get the urge to read them sometimes. I used to love these books. So there's a lot of pictures of me reading like comic books when I was a kid. But not like Marvel, like Calvin and Hobbes and Far Side. I used to love Garfield, like Foxtrot. Just loved comic books. So the last book I'm going to show you is, can't remember where I picked this up, but it's called Golden Lilies. It's the letters, these letters in ancient China that were written by Kuei Li. And they were translated and put into this book by Eileen Gouge. Eileen Gouge, I think. It's kind of unfortunate. Really pretty book. And they're just like letters. To her mother and her husband, and these letters were kept and then put into this book, and it's just like such a window back into this time in China. And she was like doing foot binding, and her son passed, and her husband was like away. And in China, when you get like married, at least during this time, you go to live with your husband's family. So she was with her like mother-in-law, and she writes her mother and talks about like how much she misses her and her family and her son dying. It's just like it's really emotional, but it really connects you. Like, we were all just people. It's a really, I really enjoyed it. It's a really I guess you could say like spiritual read, where you're getting to experience this person's what they went through so long ago. Really interesting. So that is the last book I have to show you. Out of the books I put aside to read, we have The China Garden and The Alchemist and Coraline. So if anyone has any preferences, let me know, and then I will be reading from the Grimm book, just periodically pick a little tale here or there. I had so much fun with you guys today, showing you my favorite books on my favorite bookshelf. If you had a good time, please join in for the next video, where I'll be reading a magical adventure book that we can share together. So hopefully I'll see you then, and I hope you have a great day or night or wherever you are, and I'll see you later. Bye.